Good evening, everyone. I'm Danny Warshay. I'm the Executive Director of the Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome all of you here tonight. Those of you who have been to our events before are used to the way I open all of our events. And I want to ask, for how many of you, I can sort of see you, is this your first Nelson Center event? Raise your hand. Yeah, I sort of see hands out there. Welcome especially to all of you. And I love asking that question because it never fails that at any of our events, we have a steady flow of new people. And that means that we are tapping into new corners of the university and into new corners beyond the university. Many of you I know are from the greater Rhode Island area and even beyond. How many of you are not even affiliated with Brown and are here tonight to be with us? Yeah, really love that. I love the fact that we partner with community groups like HGO Innovation, with Intra-City Geeks and Career Devs, with the Slater Fund, and lots of other local groups that extend our reach well beyond Brown. In fact, tonight, this event is being live streamed across the world. And we have people I know because they texted me this morning from South Africa. We had 2 members of our advisory council meet up somewhat randomly in South Africa this morning, Chuck Davis and Harold Mix. And they both said that if they are sufficiently jet lagged, they will be chiming in tonight. So what I'd like to do is, to anybody who is live streaming out there, encourage you to tweet at Brown eShip. So we'll be monitoring that throughout the event and encourage those of you who are chiming in to tell us where you are watching from. We also have other advisory council members chiming in from a variety of different places, and a special shout out to Jessica Kim, who is our inaugural entrepreneur in residence for this year, who is not quite in South Africa. She's just up the road in Massachusetts, but happy to have her with us remotely as well. I want to make a special thank you to Luke Sherwin and to Neil Parikh. Neil may be watching the live stream from Ethiopia this evening, but Luke is with us tonight. This is their brainchild. It's reflective of the precursors to tonight's Brown Venture Prize competition that they experienced when they were students at Brown, and to which they attribute some of what encouraged them to go on and to launch Casper. And we really appreciate your support last year and this year. And even thinking back further, I look at Liz Hamburg over here, with whom I was one of the founding trustees of the precursor to the Nelson Center, the Brown Entrepreneurship Program, back way in the day, in the late 90s, when we kicked off with Student Initiative, the Brown Entrepreneurship Program, and it had its own venture pitch competition. So this kind of thing is not new at Brown, just as entrepreneurship in general is not new at Brown. Many of you have experienced it through the years. We're really honored as the Nelson Center to carry it forward in our own way now. I also want to thank the other judges who are assembled with us today. I'm not sure if you knew exactly what you'd be getting into or committing to when you agreed to do this. We had 27 teams enter the Brown Venture Prize competition this year. And they were teams that worked really hard on lengthy applications, all of which you, stepping up to participate, had to read and take seriously. Then you spent largely an afternoon deliberating. We paired that group to the 8 finalists whom you will be hearing today. And I wanted not to introduce you in detail because your bios are in the program tonight, but I wanted to acknowledge that in many ways, you represent the full range and intensity of what we as an entrepreneurship center are trying to espouse. And our relatively newly coined mission and tagline is solutions with impact. And I'll just read briefly what you guys are up to that I think is emblematic of what lots of Brown graduates are doing to have solutions with impact. Using art to have social impact at scale, cultivating good employee health, inventing the future of sales, improving how we consume information, improving how we consume fruits and vegetables, optimizing reverse logistics of a $500 billion supply chain. That's a mouthful and a challenge to execute as well. Enhancing the way seniors work with technology. Improving the way we spend a third of our lives sleeping. Innovating education with a purpose, learning curriculum. And that last one touches on something that is an interest of Laura Thompson's. And in doing a little of my own research, some of you may remember that I was a history concentrator back here at Brown, and I like digging up primary documents. Last year, if those of you may remember, I dug up the personal statement application that Luke, you had submitted to me back when you applied to get into my course. And Laura, I dug up yours to find out what you might have shared with me back in the fall of 2008. And if I could read this, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just an excerpt, because I think, it is reflective of what Brown people are doing in the world of entrepreneurship and what we're trying to support our students doing. You shared with me, and I won't share the details, an initiative that you were part of in high school. And what you said is, this experience is an example of my constant drive to find innovative solutions to everyday problems, both in and out of the classroom. And I loved seeing that, not only because I've seen how you've blossomed and prospered in your own entrepreneurial way, but because, as I say, I think it is so nicely reflective of what our mission is all about, to have solutions with impact. I'm going to quickly turn us over to the first teams, but before I do, I'll mention a couple of additional brief announcements. One is, and you may have seen this picture pass by you a few times as you were gathering in your seats, that is, in about 6 weeks, we will have to say goodbye to our temporary home here at Hillel and say hello to our new home just a couple blocks that way. In Rhode Islandese, I'll describe it where Store 24 used to be. In other ways, I'll say right across from the Brown bookstore. And as I suspect most Brown students are considering it, that entrepreneurship center appended to the Shake Shack. I like to think of the Shake Shack appended to the Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. So most of our gatherings, I'm not sure we'll be able to fit this size in any of our spots there, but most of our gatherings moving forward as of about 6 weeks from now will be housed at 249 Thayer Street, just a couple blocks away. If you are interested in participating in more of what we do, and so many of you are already doing so, we already have over 400 alumni who are very generously, actively participating in our center in many ways. And even if you're not affiliated with Brown, we encourage you, like tonight, to participate. I encourage you to go to our website, which is entrepreneurship.brown.edu, and sign up for our newsletter, and we'll make sure that you're kept in the loop. So I'm going to encourage, as the next part of our event, for the teams to come and pitch. We will have a brief opportunity for a couple of questions or comments from the judges. And after all 8 teams have pitched, we will ask you to bear with us. We will take a few minutes while they deliberate, and then we'll reconvene and award the winners. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to all the judges. And especially thank you to all 8 teams who have done an amazing job preparing for this evening. We're really excited to hear from you.
Good evening, audience and judges. My name is Justin, this is Sunny, and we are Crest Health. Imagine that you are a 30-year-old woman living in Providence, and you've been battling addiction for the past 5 years. Your addiction has torn apart your closest relationships, and you feel alone, lost, and helpless. In order to find a community, you decide to take a chance with your local Alcoholics Anonymous. But as soon as you walk in, you find that you are the only woman of color in the entire room. This one story is part of a nationwide epidemic that has ravaged our communities. Addiction is now the #1 cause of death under the age of 50, and it's costing us as a society nearly $1 trillion each year. Our comprehensive review of literature, as well as the dozens of narratives that we've encountered through our bottom-up research, have all boiled down to one single statement. Social support is a must on the path to addiction recovery. Despite this fact, it is estimated that a whopping 85% of people do not have adequate access to social support. So we looked into why current support solutions are ineffective, and we came across three major reasons. First, in-person support meetings are just not accessible, especially if you work full-time or live in a remote location. Second, members in support programs can feel out of place. A recent survey indicated that 85% of members believed that identity was crucial in their choice to continue with support. Unfortunately, current programs are demographically homogeneous, which can exclude underrepresented people. Finally, support is not available when it's most needed. The urge to relapse can happen at any time and any place. And during these key moments, social support can play a game-changing role.
The Crest solution addresses these three key issues through a mobile platform that creates personalized support communities. Crest connects you to a personalized support group that tailors to you. We use an advanced matching algorithm to ensure that you place into a group that you can identify with. Our communities guarantee anonymity, and this means that you could share your experiences in a manner that is secretive and that isn't violative. Last but not least, Crest is there when you need it most. Activating the SOS, or the Send Over Support button, notifies your community, ensuring that you receive instantaneous support and messages of encouragement. We took a comprehensive investigation of the current landscape, and we found that Crest is the only solution that incorporates all of emergency support, safe space, and personalized support groups. These three features were examined and reviewed by leading medical experts, including the director of addiction psychiatry at New York Presbyterian. These validated features are necessary to make a measurable impact in a landscape where 23 million people are currently battling addiction and a growing market size of $8 billion. Our go-to-market strategy is to reach out to local treatment centers. We're currently in in-depth conversations with the McLean Treatment Center, the Phoenix House branch in Rhode Island, and the Providence Center. Our market research demonstrates that this landscape is incredibly price sensitive, so we're offering our subscription plans at a mere just above $1 a month for each member. This is by far the most affordable rate across the entire industry. Our lean operating costs allow us to maintain the margins that allow us to scale the solution to millions. Our team is composed of 3 members. I work on the tech stack, Justin manages operations, and Michael oversees product development. We also work incredibly closely with our team of advisors. Professor Haas-Koffler and Dr. Avery have been especially crucial and critical in the development of the Crest solution. Dr. Rabbani specializes in medical technology development, and Dr. Serena McCullough has been a mother figure and also an expert in scalable digital platforms. Winning the Brown Venture Prize will allow us to reach 30 treatment centers in the next 12 months. After this phase, we plan to release Crest into the world because we believe everyone deserves support on their path to recovery. We're Crest, and our mission is to make a tangible impact on a $1 trillion addiction problem. Thank you.
Great, and we're going to ask the judges to ask a question, make a comment. We'll have time for probably 1 or 2.
Great pitch. Love the idea of using social support for behavior change. It's proven and it's effective, and I think this is an area where you can have a huge impact. Can you tell us how you plan to measure the impact? So, how can you actually tell if the application is helping people? Is it reversing or eliminating addiction?
Right, so we plan to assess the impact by first asking the members after a 3-month trial to give us a comprehensive review of what their thoughts were about the program, and also looking at the feedback from treatment centers that we're partnered with.
Great. And have you thought about the ability to sell this through insurance companies or hospital systems? Or why have you focused specifically on the treatment center?
So we primarily focused on treatment centers because these hubs are essentially the population where you have an aligned incentive because these populations really want to solve this problem that they have. And so we have an aligned incentive. And I guess in this way, going through treatment centers provides this early stage hub. And then that will prepare us for a public release where we plan to really make a measurable impact on the landscape of addiction.
Great pitch. I have a small question of how it works. Are these going to be moderated sort of chat rooms? Sort of how do they run? I love the idea of social support and finding your place, but how do you keep the trolls out?
Sure, that's a great question. And so I work on the tech stack, so I've personally worked with this on the lower level. And the way we address this is, first, we recognize that if we monitor every channel, first, that's not going to be possible because of our resources. Number two, it's a violation of individual privacy. But then there's another, I guess, scenario where we really consider the predator scenario, and especially when one person has this, like, dominant release, or when, since these are people who are addicted, there might be cases in which there might be an exchange of a substance. So what we're doing is we're really working on a model that is a natural language processing model that would really indicate the probabilities of it being a malicious message. And what that does is, once it passes a certain threshold, it indicates to an operational human. And yeah, the human can check over it and mark it as flagged or not.
Let's give another big hand to our first team, Crest Health. Thank you, guys. The next team's going to do a quick mic swap that'll take a second. And while they're getting ready and coming up to the stage, I'm going to encourage all of you to think of how you might be able to have impact and add value to each team, because there's lots of ways, especially people in the local community might have expertise that would be useful to each of these teams. So it's not only money that these teams will be getting tonight, it's explicit mentorship in some cases that the Nelson Center is providing, and it's informal mentorship that in many cases some of you can be providing. So if you can see your program, you might want to jot down a couple of notes about people you could introduce them to, expertise you can provide, additional kind of resource that would be useful. That's part of the way our community works through the Nelson Center and through the extended part of the Nelson Center, through the Rhode Island community, through the national community, and even as we've seen through the people who are watching the live stream to South Africa and beyond. And we'll, again, check our Twitter feed to see where other people are watching from. We will invite the team from Embonet to come up to the stage.
Good evening. My name is Selena, and I'm joined here today by my fellow co-founders, Gian and Emily. We are Embonet, a diverse team of medical students, biomedical engineers, and RISD textile experts. Our goal is to protect your brain while the surgeon fixes your heart. In the United States alone, there are 500,000 open heart surgeries every year. What's shocking is that while the surgeon fixes the problem with the heart, the procedure can actually cause damage to the brain. 2 to 17% of patients after surgeries suffer debilitating strokes, and nearly half of them experience cognitive decline. So how does heart surgery lead to brain damage? Well, during open heart surgeries, patients are placed on a cardiopulmonary bypass machine, which keeps the patient's blood oxygenated and flowing even while their heart is stopped. What you're seeing here is normal blood flow through the aorta. At the beginning of the procedure, a tube carrying oxygenated blood from the machine is inserted into the aortic arch, and the ascending aorta is clamped. Unfortunately, this procedure dislodges debris such as calcium and cholesterol from the vessels. The embolic debris, represented here as the yellow particles, can travel up to the vessels in the brain where they may block blood flow and lead to brain damage. The good news is the medical device companies are on it. They've been designing and testing devices that are essentially little umbrellas or butterfly nets that are meant to capture or deflect the debris before it reaches the brain. Unfortunately, there's still a long way to go. The problem lies in the retrieval of these devices. Imagine pulling these devices out against a strong current of blood flow. The force of the blood can actually push the small debris out of the nets and back into the bloodstream. These devices leave the brain at risk for cerebral damage because they are unable to reliably capture and remove the small embolic debris. We, however, have a solution that can. Our solution is EmbleNet. Unlike existing devices that consist of single-layered meshes, EmbleNet features a double-layer pocketed mesh. The conical-shaped mesh is deployed at the beginning of surgery, and it is designed to maximize embolic capture. The innovative design of the mesh allows for secure capture and removal of the embolic debris, even during retrieval of the device.
What sets our design apart is this double-layered pocketed mesh. And the design of this mesh allows for the regulated blood flow, while the debris, shown here in yellow, is securely captured within the pockets itself, preventing it from reaching the brain. Unlike existing single-layered meshes, the EmbleNet pockets form this one-way trap that inhibits the ability for the debris to be removed once it's been captured. Since the debris is contained within the mesh itself, it can easily and safely be removed along with the device itself, thus preventing the possibility of brain damage due to open heart surgeries.
So far, we've made multiple iterations of our double-layered pocketed mesh, as well as preliminary prototypes for each of EmbleNet's features. We've also conducted flow simulation, looking at pressure and blood flow to ensure safety during deployment. And finally, our preliminary benchtop testing has demonstrated high capture efficiency compared to other devices. Now, in addition to preliminary testing, we have also filed a provisional patent through Brown. And our next step is to demonstrate the efficacy of our double-layered mesh in a fully synthesized prototype. We have collaborations with advanced fabrics companies with the machinery necessary to produce clinically viable prototypes at desired device scale. And finally, we plan to out-license EmbleNet to a major biomedical device company with the market power and financial power necessary to manufacture EmbleNet at market scale. Now, with the Brown Venture Prize funding, we can achieve high-value milestones fairly quickly. We can fully synthesize EmbleNet and further assess it for embolic retrieval and in more complex aortic models. And with a rapidly growing market for embolic capturing devices that is projected to be $2 billion by 2025, EmbleNet is entering a highly sustainable market filled with many potential buyers seeking the solution for the next great unmet clinical need. And while this is the beginning of a very long journey, our team is very ready for this challenge. Together, we have the experience and expertise in cardiac and brain medicine, cardiothoracic surgery, textiles, and advanced biomedical design. We wholeheartedly believe that with your support, we can develop this technology and bring it to the operating rooms, thus making cardiovascular surgeries safer for patients across the world. We will open the floor to questions.
Judges?
Great pitch. I'm curious, what is to stop current competitors from looking into this double mesh technology and coming out with something similar?
So right now, we don't believe that any of the competitors are really looking into these double-layered, pocketed mesh technology. We actually never thought of design like this until we met Emily, who is a resident textile expert. She has a very different background that has allowed her to really think outside the box to come up with a pocket that's essentially a one-way trap. So we really believe that this innovation would be really helpful in the embolic protection market moving forward.
Yeah, amazing pitch. I guess to educate someone naive here, if the world goes up and to the right, it just improves. You win everything that you're fighting over the next 3 years. What are the key things that happen in the next 3 years? Like what do you see happening if you win all your challenges?
So I can take that. So in terms of adaptability, so like a lot of current surgeries right now are trying to decide between open heart surgeries and closed-based surgeries. So more like vascular bases in general as well. So what we plan to do is also adapt our technology with novel deployment mechanisms, so we can adapt it to carotid endarterectomies and other procedures such as transcatheter aortic valve replacements.
And outside of capital, who do you see controlling your destiny outside of your own merit? Is there a specific party that opens the gates to success for this that you have to break through?
Well, you guys are definitely one of the first, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we're just about out of time. Thank you for those questions, judges. And thank you, Ambonet. And I think we're going to be doing another mic change. While we're doing that, I want to draw your attention to another one of the announcements that was passing before you earlier, and that is that this Saturday, we are involved with a student-run program called We at Brown. In fact, I think there's some We at Brown folks here tonight. Let's hear a little clap for the We at Brown folks. You hear? Yes. So We at Brown is women's empowerment through entrepreneurship. And it is a student-run program. We're really proud of them. They are a group that's part of the student-run entrepreneurship program, and both of those groups are under the auspices of the Nelson Center. So I encourage you all, I believe there are still slots available to participate. You should sign up. You can access that through the student orgs section of the Nelson Center website, entrepreneurship.brown.edu. So I think a really good indication of the initiative and leadership that comes out of the Nelson Center and its student groups that is not limited just to the kinds of student ventures that you're seeing tonight. So again, I'll look for the high sign. I think we're good. And so I'll ask for the next group to come up formally. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Good evening. My name is Amelie, and this is Noah, and I'm thrilled to be speaking to you about Formally today. Formally is a legal tech company that makes immigration applications easier. I remember coming to the US as an international student, and I had to fill out really complex paperwork in order to get my visa. And I had lots of questions, and I was quite frustrated and confused. When I asked Brown for help, however, they told me that they weren't able to provide legal assistance to their students. I started working with refugees about 7 years ago now, and for them, filling those forms out correctly does not mean getting into the dream schools, but it means keeping their families safe. What a lot of people don't know is that the first step to get into the US and to gain safety for your family is this form called the I-589. Let's take a look at this form. It's about 12 pages long, 400 fields, and is only available in English. And if we look at the very first page and the very first question, we see that it asks us to check a box if we also want to apply for withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture. I study international law, and this is a tricky question for me too. Let's see if it gets better. Alien registration number, then your US Social Security number, and your USCIS online account number, none of which you would have if you're applying for asylum typically. So where can people turn for help with this? There are incredible lawyers and NGOs who work tirelessly to defend people in courts and help them with their immigration forms. However, they're overworked, they don't always speak all the languages necessary to serve everyone, and they're severely underfunded. All of these problems together mean that up to 86% of asylum seekers do not have legal representation, making them 5 times more likely to be denied. I'd like to pause here and let that number sink in. 86% do not have legal representation, making them 5 times more likely denied.
This is why we built Formally. We address this critical need by making these forms accessible. Our simplified question flow guides the user through the form one question at a time, with our explanations providing answers to the questions, what are these questions really asking? Take, for example, question number 24. Are you fluent in English? Seems pretty innocuous, right? However, many immigrants will check yes to this question because they think it'll help them gain status in the US. However, when you check yes on this question, you forfeit your right to an interpreter when you plead your case in court. In our application, we provide context that warns against checking yes in this question unless you really are fluent in English for exactly this reason. For those that aren't fluent in English, while the original form is only provided in English, we provide translations to many other languages, including Arabic, Spanish, and Mandarin. When an applicant's working with a lawyer, this can take from one single 4-hour process to multiple weeks, as they have to go back and forth gathering documents and working with a translator. With our application, we can cut the lawyer time down to 1 hour, as the applicant can take the application home and fill it out in their own time. They get their questions answered by our explanations, and ultimately, people gain agency. For lawyers, consider, for example, one of our partners, the Safe Passage Project, who helps underage asylum seekers seek refuge in the US. They see 800 asylum applications each month, and that means we can save them 2,800 lawyer hours per month. This means these lawyers can see more people and help more children. This also builds to a sustainable business model. When applicants want to fill out a form through Formally, they can reach out to organizations who pay us a monthly subscription fee to access our product. And how much does this cost? Well, for an organization like the Safe Passage Project, we can save them $560,000 a month in lawyer hours. And we only charge $1,500 to $5,000 a month, which our partners are happy to pay. Our value only grows as we expand to more partners, more forms, and from the US stage to a global stage. Currently, we've created the asylum application and the EAD application. Next up is the H-1B visa, which will expand our market to employers as well. We've also partnered and launched with one of the largest asylum organizations in the US. Altogether, this puts us at $68 million in revenue by year 5. But more importantly, by that time, we can go from helping hundreds of applicants to hundreds of thousands of applicants.
We are incredibly fortunate to have a diverse and smart and skilled team that speaks over 10 languages and has over 8 years of startup experience and 7 years of experience working with asylum seekers. Over the past year, we have tested and validated our product with our incredible partners and mentors who are excited to start using Formally. We're at an exciting and crucial stage, launching publicly on April 1st. We're asking you, with the Brown Venture Prize, to help us get the word out, to get this product to everyone who needs it. With your help, we can break bureaucratic barriers, one form at a time. Thank you.
Judges, Rufus.
Fantastic pitch, and I love the name too. It's great. So this problem of kind of cryptic, hard to understand forms is obviously a massive problem that probably everybody in this room has dealt with frustrating forms. If this is successful with the first few types of forms that you have in mind, how broad do you imagine taking this product?
Yeah. We're starting here, and we started with Asylum for 2 reasons. One, we care about this space, and we care about helping asylum seekers, and you know that there is a crisis right now. On the other hand, it provided a really exciting use case for how hard can these forms get and how extreme can the situation get. So we had to come up with an extremely easy human-centered design. But in the long term, we're envisioning something like a digital passport for all your user data, so you never have to fill out information twice. So if you have to fill out your car insurance or your health insurance, any information, you can just click the magic wand, and we're actually already working on implementing that right now. So it will be a smart form filler beyond immigration forms.
Have you guys, great pitch, really, really exciting and very clear. Have you guys thought about who owns the data and what potentially you could do with it? Because it seems like you're going to have some pretty robust information, but also some major privacy issues.
Definitely. If you want to talk to that, Noah.
Yeah, I was actually saying, Ben, do you want to speak to that? Oh, that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, data privacy is an incredibly important problem to us, and it's something that we've actually spent many, many meetings going back and forth on. Ben happens to be the resident security expert here, so I wish he could speak to it. But I think, effectively, we use bank-level security, and our data is basically locked down to the point where we can't even access it without the user credentials of the user. So even if we were subpoenaed by the government to give up these people who are really in danger of being deported, we couldn't do that. So their privacy is very much intact.
And are you looking at doing anything, though, with aggregating the data and looking at that information on a more macro level?
Other than looking at overall how long it takes people to go through the process, we don't want to use any of the rest of the data other than to improve our product.
Thank you, judges, and thank you Formally.
Thank you.
I don't even think we need a mic change, so let's welcome to the stage the team from GoTF.
What comes to mind when you think of the country Ethiopia? For most people, it's one of two things: freakishly good endurance athletes, or more commonly, famine and drought. For my brother and I, this is not a surprising story, because we grew up watching our father as the national head of disaster relief in one of Ethiopia's worst famines. So we understand the importance of sustainable food chain solutions. It was in the search for this solution that we came across Ethiopia's hidden gold mine, teff, an ancient supergrain. Teff is the perfect economic engine that can eliminate and erase the future possibility of famine in Ethiopia.
However, there are two main challenges that the 10 million smallholder farmers of Ethiopia face. First, a lack of irrigation, which makes them dependent on unreliable rainfall. And second, a lack of access to the lucrative international markets, where teff is in increasing demand as a superfood.
GoTF can solve these two problems through our impact trade business model. And what we do is very simple. We provide irrigation pumps for our farmers so they can produce year-round regardless of rainfall. This increases their production not just for national supply, but also for export. Then we connect them to the global market through our delicious food products that we make from teff. Now you must be wondering, what is all the craze about teff? Well, here's a proper introduction to our star ingredient.
GoTF's pioneer product uses an ancient drought-tolerant supergrain that hails from Ethiopia. 1 cup of teff offers an unmatched nutritional power punch that meets the daily requirements with 51% protein, 82% iron, 35% calcium, 62% fiber, and it's gluten-free. Teff is a true superfood that fuels some of the world's most incredible athletes, the Ethiopian long-distance runners. Teff is unequaled, unmatched. We are bringing some of nature's best nutrition to the fore. GoTF, it can fuel the world.
Now, let's talk about our product. GoTF's first product is an instant breakfast meal. The US cereal market size is valued at 10 billion USD, and 68% of this revenue comes from ready-to-eat options. Our product is 100% natural, vegan, and gluten-free. And with only 3 ingredients, it trumps our competitors by providing a higher nutrition per serving. In addition, we also have the added value of transparent social impact, something that's in increased demand by consumers today.
Our target consumers are endurance athletes and health-conscious consumers. We've conducted over 200 interviews for our bottom-up research, and we already have great testimonials for our product. Every year, 17 million Americans attend 5Ks, 10Ks, and marathons, and millions more attend the expos for these events. So we know exactly where to find our early adopters. We'll be targeting them through direct sales at running events, through e-commerce, and niche athletic stores. We've already secured brand ambassadors of Olympic athletes from both Ethiopia and the US. But these athletes are only an avenue to get to our real market, those who aspire to be like them. So we'll be targeting health-conscious consumers through Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Thrive. We've already started with our instant teff breakfast meal, but we'll be expanding to our teff bars, teff chips, and teff crackers, and we've made a lot of headway in our R&D there.
GoTF will be selling a bag of teff meal for $8.50, and with COGS of $205, that leaves us with a profit margin of 76%. We break even in year 2 and hit projected sales of $94 million by year 5. We've already gained a lot of traction, including awards and recognition from namely sources like the United Nations, and we also have 80 pre-orders for our products. In addition to all of this, we're booking for a local race in late March, as well as the Boston Marathon 2020. Amidst all of this, we have discussions with local vendors such as Blue State Cafe, as well as an official offer from an international coffee brand that wants to carry our product as part of their bundle. However, we need the 25K to make our first production run and launch our product.
Our advisors have over 25 years of experience within the food and development sector. And our core team is comprised of my co-founder and I, who've previously launched a successful business before, and Ebenezer from Wharton Business School that has extensive experience in the fair trade consumer market. We may have a stark difference in our age, experience, and background, but we're united by our vision to rebrand Ethiopia. With GoTF, we know we can move Ethiopia away from aid to trade. Join us in this journey of superfood and super impact.
Come over to the judges. Adam.
Hi, that was awesome. I live in Washington D.C., where there's a ton. I eat Ethiopian food like once a week, so I'm a firm believer in the power of TEF. My question is I know you guys are going to be successful. So once TEF takes off, what's your plan around how to actually differentiate in the market and not have a competitor go and kind of ride the wave that you created to then kind of take you out?
Yeah, so part of our plan is just innovating constantly. So like we mentioned earlier, we've already made headway in R&D for different products that we hope to roll out as a bundle offer. We're even looking into the beverage space for unique gluten-free TEF beer that we've found that there's interest for in the market already. And our next thing is that because TEF has such a variety of use, for instance, it's good for weight loss, blood sugar maintenance, for iron deficiency. There's so many target customers that we can design specific products for based on their specific needs, even though we're starting with athletes.
Hey guys, awesome. I guess I'm curious. You know, you've seen it in big consumer categories, some of the vendors that you want, these viral stories. You know, Halo Top. Pint of ice cream is the same calories as a single serving. They tend to focus on, there's incredible benefits to TEF. You can point to 5 or 6 reasons why it's great. But they often focus on one thing and try to turn that into a viral hook through some form of, either controversial or outrageous form factor. Have you guys thought about, for you, what that, gasoline on your fire will be to win the consumer market? Because I think the impact is incredible, but there's a side to this that is just that, break moment out of a viral consumer hook.
Absolutely. So actually one of the main nutrients that TEF offers is iron. And for our runners especially, that is a very specific benefit that they're looking for because they, like for instance, don't eat as much meat because they don't want to put on as much weight. And also with vegan consumers not eating meat, vegetarians. So that iron deficiency and also just a good source of strong iron is and micronutrients. That's like our big kind of hook from what we've done in the market research so far. But just the balance of having a plant-based, high-protein fiber source is also a very strong trend right now.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, GoTF. I think we have our next team ready to go. So let's welcome to the stage HGO Innovations.
I'm going to give you a statistic and let it sink in. 1 in 7 kindergartners here in Providence tested positive for lead poisoning. My name is David, and this is Annie, and we're the founders of HGO Innovations, and we use data science and AI to empower communities with the knowledge for clean water.
There are currently over 10 million lead pipes in the United States, a ticking time bomb underneath our feet, ready to leach lead into our water as they continue to age. America is in a race in which we are heavily impaired by the lack of information regarding our own piping network.
When Washington, D.C. published the most comprehensive lead service line map in the United States, they reported that the composition of 90% of all private lines are unknown. Last year, excavations in search of lead pipes in Flint, Michigan had an accuracy rate of 21%. They wasted $20 million digging up holes only to find non-lead pipes and reburying them again. There needs to be a smarter way, and HGO does this by tapping into a new and never used before data stream: old water filters. If you want to ensure that you and your child don't suffer from lead poisoning from water, you can send us your old water filter. We extract and identify the trapped contaminants using ICP, an advanced analytical device. This process is equivalent to testing hundreds of gallons of water directly at your tap, greatly increasing accuracy from just a traditional water test. Next, you use proprietary data analytics to determine the type of piping, its condition, and the quality of water at your house, and return all this information as well as recommendations back to you for free. This process is currently under patent application. When we tested our minimum viable product on Brown's campus, sending an ad out for free water quality tests from water filters, we had 73 responses in only a single day. We are in the business of selling our aggregated data along with our assistive software to utilities like Providence Water and nonprofits like the Environmental Working Group, which we are in talks with, to ensure that the lead pipes to your house get replaced. We also plan to sell our data and insights to insurance, data analytics, and filter companies, as well as agencies and governments. Now, I'll show you how this information is useful for one of our customers, utilities. This is the water piping network seen by utilities. They have little idea of the condition and composition of their pipes. However, using our data, we generate a live visualization that pinpoints areas of lead as well as sources of contamination from leaks and corrosion. With this information, utilities will be able to surgically replace the pipes needed, ensuring clean drinking water to the community at an unprecedented efficiency and low cost.
When looking at market size, I want you to take away one number, one big idea. Over $1 trillion. That's how much the United States is projected to spend replacing pipes. And the big question, where are these problem pipes? HGOK is a solution. On the left is a traditional method of detecting lead pipes by excavating a hole in the ground, costing upwards to $3,000. This process is slow, intrusive, and labor-intensive. By collecting old water filters, we can identify where these pipes are by spending only $50 on a much larger and faster scale, eliminating the need of digging up a hole in the ground. For example, Providence currently has over 37,000 lead lines, projected to spend over $93 million to replace. With HGOK services, they can know exactly where these lines are by spending only $3 million, saving them tens of millions of dollars for mistakes of excavating non-lead pipes. This $3 million translates to $50 for the data of each household we will sell to our customers. 40% goes toward cost, leaving a gross profit margin of 60%, showing the sustainability of our company. By year one of pushing out to market, we will work in one city with a projected revenue of $3 million. And by year three, we will work in 7 cities with a projected revenue of $21 million. The BVP funding will help us grow our testing facility to scale and will be instrumental in helping us acquire our first customers working with local water utilities in Providence. We are a dynamic sibling duo with complementary skill sets and a common drive of envisioning a cleaner world. David studies chemistry and computer science here at Brown, and he has extensive lab experience working at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Brown, and also experience in the water industry working at Valor Water Analytics. And I, Annie, am a student at Harvard University studying economics and government. I also have extensive backgrounds in data science, working at a Harvard-based political tech startup named Bluebonnet Data.
At HGOK, we strive to empower communities with the knowledge for clean water.
At H2OK, we strive to make H2O okay to drink for all.
Rajiv.
That was a very professional presentation.
Thank you.
Really think it's a novel solution to a big problem. And I think your timing is impeccable because this is something that's on everybody's mind.
Oh, for sure. Oh my
Flint,
gosh.
right?
Yeah, with Flint.
Tell us how you would spend the money if you won, and what is it going to go to, and how is it going to help you get to that next milestone?
Yeah, exactly. So number one, some of the instruments such as ICP. So we're going to spend the money in order to help build our lab to scale, so we can start doing tests at a much faster scale. So at Brown, we had 73 responses in only a single day, and a lot of my friends are giving me water filters, but I need this lab space in order to actually do the tests. And actually, I've done some tests in labs here in professors' labs, but I need a space for myself in order to actually run this full time, and that's where the money is going to go to. And then once this is possible, we will be able to work with utilities and our potential customers in the future.
Liz.
Really interesting and scary. Now I want to have my water tested.
Come to us, yeah.
How are you able to identify who has filters in the community? And do you need to reach out to community members who have filters, or is it more of a push for people who have filters to find you, and are they the ones kind of actively seeking you out?
So I think if you look back at our unit economics, basically 24% of our costs go toward user acquisition. So a big part of what we're doing right now is first, so part of what we're doing is going to people who don't have filters and being like, okay, you live in a high-risk environment. We recommend you have a filter, and we recommend you give it to us so we can go and test it and tell you what your water is like. And for people who have filters, what we're doing is basically marketing to them that they get this free water test, completely paid. We're making it as streamlined as possible. That's also included in our user acquisition costs. And so that's basically what we're doing to try to get people to give us their filters. And once we do that, we give them back the results for free.
And also, for the areas that we're targeting, usually areas with high lead pipe concentration, most houses actually do have filters that catch for lead. So we come in and we're like, we know you're in an area that's high lead in concentration, and you know you want to get your water tested. We can do it all for free.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, H2OK Innovations. Nice job. Okay, let's welcome to the stage Intus Care.
Hi, I'm Evan Jackson. And I'm Robbie Felton. Growing up, I spent a lot of time volunteering at local community centers and senior centers, in part because my mother is the executive director of a geriatric healthcare facility. When I was 13, I met Rose. Rose was 73 at the time. At the center, we would play games and have a good time over the course of 4 years until one day, she was gone. I talked to Rose's son, Ben, and he told me that he had put her in a nursing home. Ben made a choice that took her away from her home, her family, and everything that she knew. Ben should not have had to make that choice. No one should. And that's why we created Intus Care, care at the touch of a button. We've created an online and mobile platform that connects home care providers to the geriatric and disabled that need care. If Ben had had access to Intus Care, he could have requested on-demand care services for his mother's unexpected needs, as well as scheduled care services for her recurring needs, like getting dressed every morning. For our care recipients, we provide many services, including companionship and assistance with daily activities, so that our patients live not only healthier, but happier lives. For their families, we provide peace of mind through our trustworthy, certified nursing assistant caregivers. Imagine your loved one being taken care of by an Intus 5-star rated caregiver at a lower cost to you. That's better health for every dollar spent. There are 46 million people like Rose, as well as 36 million that have disabilities and are in need of care. That means their families are tasked with the extra financial and physical stress of taking care of them. There are 43.5 million people in that situation like Ben, and those are our informal caregivers. Those are the people that will utilize our platform. The AARP estimates that there's a $470 billion estimated economic value provided by these informal caregivers. We will tap into this market by utilizing our easy-to-use, accessible application platform. On top of this, in the last year, $41.4 billion were spent on home care services by these certified nursing assistants, or CNAs. We will tap into this market by making exchanges easier and more accessible. This leaves us with a total estimated market of over $500 billion. Our patients will pay us $23 an hour, which is 15% lower than the statewide average of $27 an hour. 7% of our revenue will go to insurance, 10% to marketing, and 63% to our CNA expenses, leaving us with a total sustainable revenue of 20%. But it's not just us who believe in this Intus model of care. We've received support from the community as seen through our partnership with Lifespan, Rhode Island's first and largest health system. We're partnered with Lifespan's Workforce, Solutions, Training, and Teamwork program that produces very highly qualified and highly trained CNAs that we will use to ensure that our patients receive the best care possible. But it's not just Lifespan that's offered their support. We've received support directly from the certified nursing assistants themselves. We spent a lot of time conducting research, focus groups, and really getting to know these CNAs. And they've told us a lot about the difficulties and problems that they face every day on the job. They've helped us create a scalable model that we will use to impact the lives of certified nursing assistants all across the country. With the $25,000 from Brown Venture Prize, we will be able to provide over 1,000 hours of care for those in need. And we hope that you show that you care
2.
With the combined experience of our founding team at Bank of America, University of Michigan's Department of Health Policy and Innovations, and Arbor Batch nursing homes, we are the perfect team to bring our platform to the millions that need care. Here are the organizations that our advisors represent, the people who have been with us every step of the way. Remember Ben and Rose from earlier? One day, we may all be in their shoes. Growing old or having a disability should not limit our quality of life. If one day you should be faced with the choice that Ben had to make, I hope that you choose Intis Care.
We'll now open the floor for questions.
Amazing, very, very compelling presentation. Can you tell us about the competitive landscape? We're guessing there may be some other players in the space, and how are you guys different?
Right, so there's two different spaces. Essentially, there's the tech space and the home care space. Most home care spaces, especially in Rhode Island, don't have technology involved, so they're doing everything on paper. There are other home care companies, mostly on the West Coast, that are app-based. There's also one in Boston, Maven Care, but it's a one-way platform. So it's essentially the caregiver's schedule from the caregiver's schedule from their phone, like they check their schedules and everything from their phones, but the families aren't scheduling from their phones. So we're connecting both sides. But there's the home care market is saturated, but it's highly fragmented. So essentially with our lower price, as Evan stated, and our use of technology to streamline the process, we believe that we can take a good majority of the market share pretty quickly.
Would it be, and I think of like care.com and there's some others, but I imagine them being more sort of longer term engagements. Is part of the differentiator here that it's on a per task basis that people are requesting services?
So you can schedule appointments and you can specify how long you expect to need these scheduled appointments. We also offer on-demand care. And another differentiating feature is they mostly employ what are called home health aides, HHAs, while we would like to employ CNAs, which on average they're paid a couple dollars more per hour, but they're more qualified, they're better trained, and they're better vetted. And I think those are some differentiating features.
It's definitely a huge potential market, really interesting. Have you guys thought through whether the nurses' aides are going to be your employees, or are they contractors? And if so, how are you thinking through a lot of the insurance ramifications and liability issues?
Right, so before the model was you could 1099 contract home caregivers, but in 2015, the Fair Labor Standards Act came out, so you had to hire certified nursing assistants. So companies that had just started out with like the independent contracting model were flipped upside down, and they had to like shift their infrastructure. But we've learned from their mistakes, and we've set ourselves up so we can hire our caregivers and still have a sustainable model. So a lot of the liability is is covered by our insurance, which is 7% of our cost. So we're covered there.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Intis Care. Our next team, Select Ed.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and this is Amy. We are Select Ed, an online peer-to-peer platform connecting U.S. educational consultants with international college applicants. Every year, I go to China to visit my family, but last summer, I went from wallflower to instant starter party. And that was because I had just gone into Brown, and it seemed as if every parent wanted to know just one question: how I did it. And it's not just some. So many parents in the increasing Chinese middle class want to send their children abroad, hoping that the experience at a foreign top university will help them give them better career prospects. The current prevailing method to do this is to hire consultancies charging prices like this. Families are investing huge amounts of money in this service, but what exactly are they paying for? 200,000 yuan, about $30,000 US for consultants, 3 out of 4 of whom have never even studied abroad. And there's a shortage of consultants who have experience in admissions, who've written essays, who know what test prep is like, and who know what college life in America is like. And I'm talking about the students. there are 16 million college students in the US and 78 million high school students in China who want to study abroad. This system provides puts so much economic burden on families who want to study abroad, but it also prevents so many families with limited economic resources from even trying. SelectEd has a better way to do international education applications by providing students with the help they need. We are building an online platform that provides a one-stop shop for admissions consulting, provided by both students and seasoned consulting professionals. We recruit talented consultants from all over the US, pooling their admissions expertise, our marketing experience, and proprietary matchmaking algorithms to give students the best fit help. So we reduce application costs and democratize access to international education. As a marketplace, our business model is to charge consultants a 20% commission on all transactions for logistics and overseas marketing.
Selected is an effective solution for the inefficiencies of traditional consultancies because it has no overseas, it is not restricted by geographical barriers, and there is no infrastructural costs. We plan to launch in the US and China. The market is huge. In 2017, 587,000 Chinese students study abroad, and this number is going to grow to 830,000 in 2022. In 2017 alone, $4.3 billion was spent by Chinese families on test prep and college consulting. And the growth is 17%, and it is expected to grow over the next 5 years. We plan to focus our marketing efforts on 4 major cities with the highest study abroad rates. And in 2019, we expect to have helped 300 Chinese students, and by 2020, 7,000, and 2021, 33,000. And that will generate $70 million of revenue for US educational consultants. We also plan to expand into India and Brazil, as well as popular student study abroad destinations such as the UK and Australia. And we have a pipeline of college consultants as well as clients. The Brown Venture Prize can cover our website development fees and initial marketing expenses. Our team has a collective experience of 8 years in educational consulting, developing matchmaking algorithms in the fintech space, and creating a website in matching low-income students and volunteer tutors. By disaggregating the college application process and taking out the middleman, college consultants and international applicants like myself can reap the benefits. With the help of the Brown Venture Prize, Selected can create more opportunities for American college consultants. But most importantly, Selected can also help millions of students all around the globe select and get selected by the schools of their dreams. Thank you very much for your attention. We are now open for questions and feedback.
That's awesome. I don't think this one's working, but it's a really clean idea. I love it. I guess I have a question about the arc of the company, and what you showed on the slides looked a little bit like a disaggregated platform, kind of peer-to-peer. On the supply side, I can go on and I use an algorithm to get vetted. You guys, as a posture, seem somewhat neutral. Just in what I was seeing in your materials, it's like if someone's bad, they get washed out by the platform. I'm curious how you think about yourself on the spectrum between kind of a pure play marketplace like that and something that might have a managed marketplace dynamic but take more brand risk, like a Kaplan, where you have, you could have a similar dynamic, for example, of disaggregated 1099 students who are consulting, but you guys are taking more position of vetting or other things. I'm curious, obviously in the long run, peer-to-peer is huge, but how you arc this is really interesting. I'm curious where you stand.
Currently, we're functioning as a marketplace, and we have 3 types of consultants. The first type is college students, the second type is seasoned educational consultants, and the third type is volunteer consultants. And that's how we kind of level the playing field for international students who cannot afford very expensive consultants. And to answer your question, we currently don't have a vetting process, but we eventually will. And we also have suggested prices for the consultants, like suggested rates. We don't enforce them, but we will let them know that there's like a ballpark for, like, depending on experience, how much they should charge.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I know people that have lived this pain. One question, I mean, kind of maybe piggybacking a little bit, is costs seem to be a big driver, which makes sense. Do you see like other benefits? Like, are these folks going to get connected to better schools? Are the schools themselves going to be able to find better students, and therefore maybe you guys can take a finder's fee on behalf of those schools as part of the model? I guess, like, what other benefits are there besides cost?
Mm-hmm. So besides cost, we level the playing field, of course, for international students who might not necessarily have the means to travel outside the country for education. So by doing that, we open a bigger pool of applicants for colleges themselves, because people who might not have been applying otherwise now have the means and the encouragement to apply. Also, as a peer-to-peer platform, which doesn't really exist on a specialized level out there, we can provide better rapport with the students. Sometimes it's easy to talk with someone who's like your peer and you can trust, and on a more conversational level than like someone like much older than you, like a traditional consultant. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it did.
I think, unfortunately, Rufus, I see you have a question, but we're out of time. That reminds me to let you know that at our refreshment after party, we will have an opportunity for all of you to meet with all the teams. So if it's okay, let's thank Select Ed. And our next team is Zap Charging.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joey Asbell, representing Zap Charging. Electric vehicles are the future of transportation. 1 in 3 new car buyers are interested in buying an electric vehicle. This is a rapidly growing market. It's expected that by the year 2025, there'll be over 7 million electric vehicles on the road in the United States. However, 85% of these potential EV drivers are worried about one thing, and that's charging. They're worried they're not going to be able to find a charger, their battery will die, and they won't be able to get where they need to go. This is called range anxiety, and they're not wrong to be anxious. While the US accounts for nearly a quarter of all electric vehicles on the road globally, we only have about 6% of global fast charging infrastructure. So the question is, how do we make charging easier for consumers? And beyond that, why do you need to find a charger when charging can come to you? At Zap Charging, that's what we do. Our solution is an on-demand mobile fast charging service. So what that means is from their mobile device, a user can call a Zap Charging unit to any location at any time, and we can deliver 60 miles of range in 20 minutes of charging on average. So imagine you forget to charge overnight and you need to make an unexpected trip for work. If you're driving a traditional vehicle, all you have to do is drive around the corner, you'll probably find a gas station. The same is not true for EV owners. Take Brown University as an example. Brown is one of the wealthiest, most progressive institutions in the nation, yet if you commute to work here with an electric vehicle, you have one option for charging, and it's a slow charger. The nearest fast charger is a 25-minute walk away across a highway. What Zap Charging does is give EV owners peace of mind. The knowledge that if they're in a situation where they need a charge, they can get one, no matter what. So let's talk about how we're going to make money. Beyond targeting individual EV owners, we'll also pursue contracts with businesses and organizations like Brown. We'll generate revenue through a subscription model with an annual membership fee as well as a per-charge rate. Now, you may be wondering, wait a second, how are they ever going to handle the logistics of building a nationwide network of automobile support services? Since its inception, Zap has been in conversations with AAA over a strategic partnership. Just last week, we were given permission to publicly announce this strategic partnership. At this point in time, the details haven't been ironed out, but what I can tell you is we'll have direct access to their network of over 58 million drivers in the United States, 200,000 of whom are already EV drivers. That's our first 200,000 customers. Let's talk strategy. We'll begin by targeting key states in the Northeast that have high year-over-year growth rates in EV sales, as well as a lack of charging infrastructure to meet this rising demand. By partnering with dealerships, we'll get directly to new EV owners at the point of sale, and dealerships will love us because they'll be able to use a Zap charging subscription as an incentive when selling to new EV owners. Looking at the competitive landscape, we have a couple key players we need to mention. ChargePoint and EVgo are the two largest networks of electric vehicle charging in the nation, yet neither of them are pursuing a mobile solution for charging. FreeWire is a company out of California that's developed a B2B mobile charging service, but they limit the scope of this service to a company's parking lot. Zap is setting itself up as the most flexible and reliable service on the market, a market that Bloomberg predicts will be worth over $18 billion by the year 2030. From our pro forma financials, we see steady and sustainable revenue growth. Much of this growth comes from the recurring revenue from our subscription model. And also you can see that the graph closely follows the growth of the EV market. With the funding from the Brown Venture Prize, our first step will be to protect our IP by filing for a process patent on our service model. Next, we'll begin the development of our first prototype of our mobile charging hardware. We're a team of 5 aspiring entrepreneurs in the BEO program, as well as a software developer, 2 wonderful mentors from the Brown community, and a managing director at AAA's national headquarters, John Nielsen. John Nielsen loves Zap charging, and he loves Zap charging because he knows that electric vehicles are the future, and he wants to provide EV owners with the same level of service that AAA's provided American drivers for generations. Together, we're going to end range anxiety by delivering peace of mind to EV owners. And remember, when you need a charge, Zap it. Thank you very much.
I'm curious what great presentation, huge problem. And I'm curious what you guys think each mobile charging unit will cost you to make and maintain, and why you would build them yourselves versus partnering with someone who's already building them.
So there's a few different avenues we're looking towards for this mobile charging unit. Initially, we looked specifically at lithium-ion battery packs as a solution, and now we are considering 2 other options of hydrogen fuel cells and a DC generator with the fuel as biodiesel. As we do a detailed cost-benefit analysis of these, we will see which one will be more cost-effective as we pursue a final solution.
I can add on to your second question about why we might want to outsource it. So what Zap really is taking an existing technology and using it in an innovative way. So we actually plan on having other people build our hardware for us. We are not a tech company, we're a service company.
Hi guys, really interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about your proprietary technology? And you said you're not a tech company, you're a service company, but then what would stop AAA from going out to their network and just putting some kind of device in the back of the trucks that they already have and that logistic and network that they already have?
Yeah, so first we plan on making a patent that will be a utility patent rather than sort of a hardware patent on our technology. We don't have that right now, but that is in the works. 2 other things that would prevent competitors from sort of doing exactly what we're doing is first, our partnership with AAA. AAA, that John Nielsen has said specifically to us, they're not the type of company to do this type of service themselves. We are a strategic partner with them because it's a mutually beneficial relationship where we have access to their 200,000 electric vehicle owners and growing, and now they're at the forefront of the electric vehicle industry. So they can sell to dealers cars. Dealers have a higher turnover at the dealership floor. And the third thing is timing. So we are faster than other companies right now. We've already made the connections and the relationships that other companies would have done. We've done this 6 months ago. So the thing preventing other companies from doing this is we have the timing right, we have the partnership right, and we're working on IP for our utility process.
Thank you, judges. And thank you, Zap Charging. Let's have another round of applause for all 8 teams. Great job, everybody. And also for the judges. Great job, judges. Okay, could I have the lights on, please? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask everybody who's here to stay in your seats. We're gonna ask the judges to adjourn and deliberate. They will do so just for a few minutes, so if you can bear with us, just please stay in your seats, and we will reconvene in a few minutes.
Okay, and the winner of third place for $10,000 towards their business is Embanet. Congrats. 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 You're going to have to carry this. There you go.
Okay, we now have second prize. Second place goes to GoTF.
And this was an incredibly hard deliberation after seeing all of the wonderful pitches from this year. But this year's first place 2019 Brown Venture Prize winner is Formally.
Well, thank you. I am a lack of words, but I think this really speaks to the times that we're in, and it's really inspiring for me to have such a large support. And what inspires me every day is the attorneys that we work with, and more importantly, the incredible team that makes this possible. So thank you to the Nelson Center for supporting us every step of the way since we started, and I'm just overwhelmed by gratitude. Thank you so much.
Let's have the judges, another hand for the judges who did a tough job tonight. While I'm in the mode of thanking people, and while you're in the mode of clapping, there's a lot of people to thank who put a ton of effort into, first of all, helping the teams prepare for tonight. And that list includes, and I apologize if I've forgotten anybody, but Thano Chaltis, Barbara Tenenbaum, Hamza Ansari, Angus Kingen, Alden Richards, Jason Harry, Michelle Peterson, who is especially nice to thank because, as some of you know who were here last year, Michelle was one of the winners last year and has stayed so meaningfully and generously involved to help the next crew of winners along. So thank you, Michelle. Jonas Clark, Liz Malone, and Abby Rubin, the tireless staff of the Nelson Center who have done an amazing job of pulling tonight off. So thank you to my small and wonderful team. Also to Hillel for hosting us not only tonight, but I don't get a chance to thank the folks at Hillel for hosting us for the last 2.5, going on 3 years. We've really appreciated your generous support. To the Brown event staff who pulled off a wonderful evening tonight, and to all of you. One small detail that the We at Brown folks asked me to clarify, they would love all of you to come on Saturday, but not at 8:30 as it showed on the slide going by, at 9:30. So everybody should show up on Saturday at 9:30, and I welcome you all to join us all for refreshments in the lobby. Thanks again for a wonderful 2019 Brown Venture Prize competition.